This is a model of how gravity works, according to Einstein's theory of general relativity. The fabric represents space, and the weight in the center represents an object with a lot of mass, such as a star. The fabric is pulled tight, so without the weight, it's a flat surface. But when the weight is added, it creates a depression in the fabric around it. Likewise, space actually curves toward massive objects. The smaller balls represent objects with less mass than the star, such as planets. When they come near the weight, their motion also curves toward it. The curved space is pushing them toward the object with more mass. If a ball is moving fast enough, it moves in a circular path around the weight. This is how planets orbit stars. If it's not moving fast enough, it simply falls toward the weight. This model shows that gravity isn't actually a force pulling things down. It's what happens when mass distorts space, and the distorted space pushes things toward the mass.
The cloth in this demonstration represents space, and the metal balls represent planets. As all the planets orbit in one or two directions, they begin to collide, causing them to stop moving, allowing gravity to push the metal marble planets to the star in the center. Most of the time, there is an unequal amount of planets orbiting in the different directions, leaving only one direction victorious.
This is a demonstration of how planets orbiting the Sun can have moons orbiting them. Normally, the moons are significantly smaller than the planets they orbit, but sometimes, like in Pluto's case, they are almost the same size. As a planet is orbiting a star, smaller objects are influenced by the gravitational field of the planet and begin to orbit the planet instead of the Sun, as the planet is closer to the less massive objects, and thus its gravitational field is stronger.
What you see is a representation of objects being affected on by the gravity of a binary star system. A binary star system is one in which two stars are orbiting each other. Sometimes, an object will orbit in an elliptical pattern around both stars. Other times, as an object approaches the star system, it will orbit only one of the stars. If the orbit of this object is close enough to the other star, the object will be caught in its gravity and be pulled around it, causing the orbit to become figure-8 shaped.
When there is no massive object in the center, space is flat, and smaller objects travel in straight lines, not warping the space around them all that much. However, once two objects pass close to one another, they pass into an area warped by the other's presence. This clumping continues as more objects are drawn to it. With each addition of an object, the clump gains mass and warps the fabric more, eventually acting as a star or a planet, warping space enough to sustain orbit. A few objects, instead of clumping, may now orbit the central body.
A common misconception is that the planets pull the moon towards them, and that the Sun pulls everything orbiting it. This isn't the case. Space-time, represented in our model as the cloth that is stretched by the balls, is getting warped by the massive objects in space and pushing the less massive objects towards the more massive objects. Gravity never pulls on anything. What you and the planets and the moons all experience is space-time pushing them.